Hey guys, how you doing? Eric at SoCal Cigars. I have to apologize. Sorry for the delay on getting this update video done. My hope was to do it in about a week. Then last minute we were able to actually fly out to Missouri to visit my family like I do every year. We weren't really sure what was going to happen with the current virus situation with flying, but it actually worked out great that we got to go. And we got to visit, have a great time, and just got back last week. So finally wanted to get this update video done and out to you guys. I'm going to have to give you a little spoiler alert. My hope was that by throwing that Cigar Oasis in there, that all my dreams would come true, and they haven't. So let's go upstairs and take a look at the humidor and go over what the current status of that box is, and then afterwards we'll come back down and we'll wrap it back up and see what we can figure out here. All right, so let's head on upstairs. Come with me. Hey guys, here we are upstairs with the unit in question, and we're going to go over the numbers that are all over the freaking place to try to make some sense of this. So I'm just going to let you know ahead of time that I've been opening and closing the door, so the readings are now all over the place. But what I did before I started doing that is I wrote down all the numbers so that I could give you those numbers ahead of time so you can follow along. I'll put those on the screen. Anyway, let's start. With the unit closed on the outside, you'll see a number here in blue. What that's supposed to be is the unit telling you what it's picking up as the temperature inside the humidor. And when I started doing this a minute ago before I opened and closed the door, it said 63. Okay, so it's telling me 63. Now let's go inside. As you can see, I have a hygrometer towards the top. I have another round hygrometer right next to the Cigar Oasis on the bottom, and then there's the information on the Cigar Oasis itself. Okay, so let's look at those numbers. The top hygrometer was telling me 76 degrees, 53% relative humidity. Okay. The bottom round hygrometer was telling me 66 degrees, 64% relative humidity. And the Cigar Oasis unit itself was telling me 68 degrees and 71% humidity. Okay, so from the top to the bottom, and even to the outside unit telling you the temperature, those numbers are kind of all over the place. So I'm going to, again, I'll put those on the screen so you can see them more clearly. It's kind of hard to follow when I'm just talking through it. So let me now kind of go over the setup, because I've gotten a lot of questions about this and about this anticipated update to see what's happening since I've made some changes. So what I did to accommodate these changes, and this is kind of a carryover from the last video, is the first thing I did was I took out one of the drawers. Okay, so what I had done originally is I had taken out all the shelves in this unit, and I had put all the slots were 6 drawers. And so to accommodate this Cigar Oasis, which is about 3.5 inches tall, if I hadn't taken out that drawer that goes right above it, that's now missing, the top exhaust fan of the Cigar Oasis would have been literally right up against the bottom of the drawer. And I figured for circulation and flow, that wasn't going to work. So I ended up rearranging things, condensed some cigars in the drawers, added, like just put some boxes and some loose cigars behind the Oasis and over here to accommodate removing a drawer, going down to 5 drawers instead of 6. The other thing I did, because there's such a discrepancy from the top to the bottom, is in this top drawer, I added back in a tray of 70% humidity beads from Heartfelt Industries and loaded it up with some distilled water, as you can see by the color. That maybe has helped, maybe it hasn't, I don't know. The only true thing I can tell you about this setup right now is that these 2 black round hygrometers are the 2 constants I know are right. I've done the salt test on those things twice, and I know that those are dead on. Both times the salt test, I was at 75%, and if it wasn't, I adjusted it to make sure it was 75%, and then put them back in. So I know those are correct. The Cigar Oasis is supposed to come already, correct from the factory. And I'll tell you, I have not yet calibrated that. But I know that those two black, the round ones, I know those are accurate. And so that's, you know, I guess the discrepancy. I guess there's always been a discrepancy. I mean, even when this thing was holding its humidity better than it seemed to now, there always was a drop between the top and the bottom. But right now, and it's it's pretty good drop. It's 53 to 64. That's, you know, that's around 10% humidity difference between the top and the bottom. That's a lot. So anyway, so that's where we are with the numbers game. Several people had questions in regard to the Cigar Oasis itself and how all that works and runs. So let's take a look. I'll pull the unit out so you can get a better shot of this thing. Okay, so there's the unit itself, and as you can see on the side, there's a little L plug that is a great addition, because the plug used to come straight out the side, and it was very inconvenient. But now it's got that little L-shaped plug, so it runs the wires along the side of it, which is way better than it was before. This is the exhaust fan, so this is what's putting out the humidity. In fact, I can feel it's on. If you look on the side here, that is the intake fan that's pulling air in, and then this bottom piece is the thing filled with foam, the cartridge that has the distilled water in it. Okay, so looking at the screen and the buttons, so that top upper right, or I'm sorry, upper left that says set point, that is the user input part of what I've set it to be, the humidity, and 71.9 as high as it goes. I normally would set that, if this is all working correctly, I would have set that at 68, not 71.9, but I maxed it out just to see what would happen. The lower left is the temperature in the box, which is obviously changing because I've taken it out. And then the large number on the right is the current relative humidity as far as it can read. And then at the upper right, you'll see that little symbol means that it is connected to my wireless network. And then you've got the soft touch buttons, basically the up and down arrow to make your adjustments. And then there's the button on the right, which is actually the one I use to get it to start syncing up wirelessly. And then all you do is you basically put the unit in, make sure that you've got room on this side for the intake of the air. And then this flat ribbon cable, all you need to do is really just push it up against the side. Okay, you can see how flat it is. And it just runs underneath there, and then it just runs out the other side, as you can see over there, underneath this trundle bed that goes to like a power strip. And so that's really it. And so you'll see when I shut the door, I'll have to move this a little bit, but as you can see as I shut the door, that rubber gasket on the door just forms right around that and makes a nice tight seal. So that actually works really, really well. So the other questions I had were about the Wi-Fi, and I'll go over that downstairs when I wrap this up. Okay, so one thing I did want to show you about the cigars is if I go to the very top and I take one of these cigars, here's the Cuban Cohiba. If I take the cigar and I kind of squeeze it, it's not cracking, it's not brittle, okay? So the cigars don't seem to be in bad shape. So I just wanted to point that out, that even though the readings seem to be, you know, according to this thing, it's 53% humidity towards the top of the humidor, they're not, none of these cigars are dried out and cracking, okay? You know, if I pick these cigars up and I squeeze them, these are fine, you know? I would be a lot more worried if that weren't the case. So I'm just wondering, you know, I don't know. I'm just wondering what the deal is, because I know, like, these were those ones I rescued, and look, they're still supple and feel like leather. I mean, those are ready to smoke. So even with the discrepancies, I'm not feeling that there's any damage being done to my cigars. Okay, so here we are. Come back downstairs after the little humidor tour, and as you can see, a little frustrating. Again, like I said, my hope was that I was going to be able to put in that Cigar Oasis unit and have it stabilize everything, and life would be wonderful, and that's not exactly what took place. As you can see, there were some pretty healthy discrepancies, up to 10% humidity differences between the top and bottom of that humidor. So let's start with Cigar Oasis. Okay, I think it's a great ad. I'm really happy I got it. I think for what it does, it's a great unit. I like that it's kind of a set it, forget it. I like that it's so adjustable. I like that it has a fan, because I know a lot of people's solutions for not getting humidity around their box is to put some kind of a small fan. And this already has a fan built in. That's what's pushing the humidity around in the first place. So I like that part. I like that it's got a large reservoir so that you can fill that thing up and let it go for a while and not have to keep tending to it as much as you do other methods. And as much as I saw negative feedback about the Wi-Fi, it connected very simply. You just logged it into your Wi-Fi, and then you could just hit the Cigar Oasis application, and it would give you your readings. I mean, it was really, really easy. So I wasn't, maybe it's gotten better, because I know they did go from running it themselves to hiring out a third-party company to manage the Wi-Fi aspect. So that could be why that's gotten better. But I think it was great. It is subscription-based, so you do need to pay for it. So I'd go check online and look at what it currently is, because I know it changes a lot. So, but I would argue that for the convenience, for the updates, for being able to adjust things on my phone and have it change the adjustments on the Cigar Oasis itself without me having to be there, that's pretty cool. I think that's a great feature. So I won't say that the Cigar Oasis didn't live up to my expectations. Maybe I was hoping a little more out of the Cigar Oasis than is possible, because what I feel like the culprit here is, after really analyzing what's going on, is that, like I said, even though this is cooled through thermoelectric cooling, which is not supposed to take anything out of the air as far as humidity, it clearly has to be. Because if I go unplug that unit, within hours that thing's got the humidity back to where it should be. So something about that unit running is robbing the humidity out of the atmosphere in that unit. So that seems to be the problem. I don't think the problem is with the heartfelt beads. I don't think it'd be a problem if you're using Boveda packs. I don't think it's a problem with the Cigar Oasis. I think it's actually it's a problem with that kind of closed environment. And when you're trying to cool down air, even if you're using the best method possible, which is thermoelectric cooling, it's still changing the environment. It's still pulling humidity out of that air. It simply has to be. So I think I've come to this conclusion, because I know a lot of you were hitting me up for questions about, like, looking to see what my recommendation is going to be. I would say if I had to do it all over again, especially if I didn't have a refrigerated unit, I would probably get a Cigar Oasis. I really do like the fact that you can just fill that thing up in the reservoir and set all your settings, and you're kind of done. I really like that aspect of it. And I like that it's already got a built-in fan that's moving air around, because that's already an upgrade a lot of people are doing, and that's already built in. So I think that's awesome, and I really think that it having the Wi-Fi feature is just another kicker, which is great, because before that was a big add-on that you had to pay for an additional little unit. Now it's all built in, and it's just a monthly fee. So I think that's great. I think if you also don't have a refrigerated unit, or if you do, I don't see a problem with Boveda, and I don't see a problem with heartfelt industry beads. I think they work fine. I think I really think the culprit here, if you have to pick the bad guy is the Humidor. Because from what I can tell, that thing running is pulling humidity out of the air, even if it's not supposed to. It is. So I think that what I would recommend in what I'm going to do, and I'll follow up down the road with this a little bit later to kind of see how this is panned out, is what I think the best thing to do is, if you don't need to plug it in, don't plug it in. So for me, for example, living in Southern California, it's really never cold enough to be a problem. The weather's usually decent enough to not be a problem. There's really only usually a couple months out of the year that are really hot, and sometimes into the 100 degree hot. What I think the best route for me to take is to basically leave that unit unplugged until I have to cool it down. Like I said, I'd often come home and my humidors were at 85 degrees. That's too much heat. So I'm sort of going to view this humidor more as a rescue method than it is a constantly running method. I'm thinking what I'm going to do is try to keep that thing unplugged unless I have to cool the cigars down. Then I'll plug it in. I'll deal with the maintenance of having to kind of go through this struggle to keep the humidity up. And then once the temperature changes again, I'll unplug it again and just basically I'm going to use it as a humidor without the cooling feature, unless I absolutely have to have the cooling feature, which is actually, if you think about it, it's a nice way to be able to do it, because with a regular humidor, there is no option to cool. Okay. So at least if I'm using this box as a humidor in its simplest form, at least I have that option of plugging it in and cooling it down when absolutely necessary. And I think that's probably going to be the best way to go from here on out. I think that the struggle I'm having with having it plugged in all the time, it just isn't worth it. It's a pain. The only other thing I can think of is that there's something wrong with my unit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to Whynter, and I'm going to let them know what's happening, and I'm going to see if they can say, oh yeah, if you're running into that problem, it's this. So that's really the only avenue I haven't taken yet, because really it's not a very old unit, and nothing's really seemed to have gone wrong with it. It seems to be functioning like it normally does. Nothing's really changed. But given that I think I've kind of exhausted every other option I can think of, I'm going to go ahead and reach out to Whynter and see if maybe they have a suggestion to what I can do. Maybe there is a problem. Maybe there's a recall. Maybe there's a bad part that I can replace. So I will find that out, and I will post a video on that, regardless of what I find out. If when I hear back from them, I'll at least say, hey, I reached out. Here's what I asked them. Here's what the feedback was from Whynter. And so at least I can give you that information and see if something there, because I really don't think it's something wrong with the unit. I just think it's the nature of the beast that when you're trying to cool air, it pulls humidity out. I think it's just part of it. So anyway, I really wanted to give you a video that just said, hey, throw the Cigar Oasis in, and it's going to be rainbows and unicorns from here on out. Unfortunately, I'm not able to give you that news. But I think that what I can tell you is that if you have a Humidor like this, I would use the cooling feature when you need it, and don't use it when you don't need it, because when the unit's not plugged in, it stabilizes very simply like any humidor does, and it shouldn't really it shouldn't be this much work to keep the humidity right. So anyway, I wish I had better news for you. This is not the news I was hoping to deliver, but at least I can give you my experience and what I'm dealing with, and what I've at least tried to come to some kind of a resolution to move forward with. And I think this is going to have to be it for now. I will update you when I hear back from Whynter. And if you want, leave a comment. If you have a refrigerated unit like this, the New Air or the Whynter or whatever brand it might be, and you're having absolutely no issues, hey, you know what, leave me a comment down below and let me know what you're doing, and just to see if there's maybe some stone I haven't overturned, because I feel like I've kind of run through every option available to try to isolate the issue. And to me, by doing that, the issue really seems to go back to that Humidor itself and the cooling process. So anyway, I'd love to hear any feedback, because if you guys are having success and I'm not, then at least maybe it'll give me another avenue to entertain. But as of now, this is kind of where I'm at with it. Again, wish it was better news and more concise, like here's the solution, go for it. It doesn't seem to be. So I guess the good news is if you don't need to cool your cigars, you don't even need to get a cooling unit like this, and you don't have to have these problems to begin with. I think the other good news that came from this is, whether it's Cigar Oasis or humidity beads or Bovita packs, I think any of these solutions will work, and I think it's maybe the one you feel the most comfortable with, or have maybe gotten success with. So I don't think that I would look at any of those options saying, oh yeah, those definitely don't work well. They all seem to work pretty good. I think the Culprit's going to be your refrigerated unit. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful. I know there's a few of you that have been waiting to hear what I had to say to determine how you wanted to move forward. It is my opinion. I'm glad I got the Cigar Oasis Excel. I don't think that was a bad purchase. I like the features and I like what it does. So that being said, hopefully this helped you, or at least give you the data from what I've just experienced, so that you can maybe figure out how you want to move forward with your refrigerated Whynter. Anyway, feel free to leave me some comments below if there's anything you need to say or want to hear me go over. But that's kind of the rundown. That's kind of what I've determined over this almost 4-week process of trying to figure out what to do here. So anyway, Eric at SoCal Cigars, please like and subscribe. Appreciate all the comments I've been getting. Channel's been growing. I'm really glad about that. Please always, throw me a comment on any kind of content you're looking to hear about. I'll gladly do the types of things you guys want to see. I know that's important. I'm not looking to put out things that don't interest you. So if you guys have any suggestions, feel free to throw those in there, and I promise you I'll do a video. So anyway, have a fantastic rest of your day. Good luck with your humidor. And again, leave some comments. Let me know what your experience has been. And I will see you on the next video.